It's time for another deep dive look at dog culture. So, we're going to start right off with this. Nazi Germany used government funding to conduct various medical experiments, particularly in concentration camps, as part of their racial hygiene policies and military research. That's a very short analysis, but they used their taxpayer money to collect medical information while they allowed their citizens to be tortured by the Nazis. Tortured, attacked by dogs. They used German Shepherds very much. So, that sure does sound a lot like what we're about to look at. And so, again, dog culture, it's a lot like the very worst of communism and socialism. Let's fast forward to today. And right now in America, many Americans lack sufficient knowledge about dog behavior and the risks associated with dog attacks, which can lead to dangerous situations, especially for children. So, despite all of the experts and all of the dog shelters and rescues that are supposedly putting information out, so many people are just clueless about the expense and the risks of dogs. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, it's crazy. So next up, so the National Institute of Health, they're supposed to share their studies with the general public. However, they only share certain studies, pro-dog studies, even though they do many studies about dog bites, dog attacks, Pasteurella canis infections from dog bites, and other such things. So this is kind of looking like that Nazi Germany thing. We are allowing so many people to be hurt and injured by dogs. And we have all the studies about it, but we don't share those studies to help our people. We just let our people keep getting hurt by dogs and doing more and more studies on them. So let's look a little bit more about the National Institute of Health. So they provide a wealth of research on dog attacks through various databases. Through PubMed, NCBI Bookshelf. So there are plenty of studies about the dangers of dogs. Let's go to our next one. So how is this funded? Where do they get the money to sit back and claim the obvious? Dog bites are very dangerous to children, and Pasteurella canis and facial attacks are putting children in very, very terrible situations. Where do they get the money for all that? Competitive grants. Okay. Where did grants come from? Oh, that's from the U.S. federal government with the budget determined by the Congress. Yeah. So when the Congress sits back and looks at the facts, the NIH has been doing dog bite studies for decades and decades, and the NIH wants more money to do dog bites. What does the Congress do? Yeah, here you go. Here's some more of that taxpayer money. Here you go. Yep. Look at these numbers. 2024, NIH had a budget of $48 billion. Wow. What about 2023? Says here, for example, the fiscal year 2023, they spent $35 billion on competitive grants. So competitive, that means that they have to make a really good case to do a study. Which is very funny to me because they've been doing dog bite studies for years and years and years. Yet local authorities, local government, local lawmakers, the parents of kids that need to have information about dog bites, they don't have the information. They don't share the information. When is the last time you heard a politician say, hey, according to 27 NIH studies across 2 decades, pit bulls are really, really dangerous to children's faces and necks? When have you heard a politician ever say that? Yet they have that exact information available to them to help with public safety, but they refuse to share it. Yet the NIH lawfully has to make that public. Yet public officials, they'll just, whatever, stick some duct tape over their eyes and, oh, a bunch of kids got killed by pit bulls. Give me some more taxpayer money. We'll do another study. Yep. So now we are over at the National Library of Medicine, PubMed.com. So we can do keyword search on published studies. These are studies that have already been funded. So look at the year, 1982 to 2025. So these studies have been going on for a long time. Like I said, decades. So dog attack infants is our keyword search. We have 80 results. What about just dog attacks? 1,538 results. You can scroll down and look at any of these. Look at this one. Dog attacks on athletes. Why don't you bring the athletes up there and let them tell their story? You're going to collect $100,000, $2,000 of taxpayer money to claim the obvious. Yep. Let's go do a Google search here just to have another perspective. So, PubMed, a search would be conducted on the PubMed data site itself. However, based on the information available, there are numerous studies focusing on dog attacks. So, dog attack studies, dog attack studies, dog attack studies. Like some of these listed over here on the right side of your screen. 2024, what dogs are most likely to bite? A new study from NIH. Yeah, these people are studying dog attacks after dog attacks on your taxpayer money. Billions and billions of dollars. And what about the kids that get attacked by dogs? What about the sports people that get attacked by dogs? Like our last little thing I was showing you. Are you going to give them a voice? Nope. You're just going to suck a bunch of taxpayer money and do a study about dog attacks. Duh. It's a fanged predator. You freaking idiots. So now we're going to look at, this is called reporter.nih. So you can go look at studies that are currently going to be funded or proposed, but they've been paid for by the NIH. So my keyword search here, sorry about that, is dog. So we're looking at studies that are getting published about dogs. So look at some of these. Look at some of these right here. Companion dogs for neurocognitive sensory aging and susceptible blah blah blah. 690,000. Wow. Effects of acidosis and hypotemic metabolism in the dog. Oh, they're not going to show you the money for that one yet. Okay. Tools for genetic genomic studies in dog. Look at this one right here. So, how many taxpayer dollars are we spending on that one? 346,500. Guys, if you want to watch a 5-hour video, I can find hundreds of cases of this, and it's about 100,000 up to about 500,000. 346,000 to study genomic studies in dogs, and again the same thing. 660,000 again, 341,000 again. All this money to study dogs. All this fucking money going to the NIH. This is your federal taxpayer money. These aren't studies for having fun times with your kids out at the dog park and throwing frisbees, or just going hiking with your son. It's not studies like that. It's not human studies. And you don't even need to go to the NIH website. You can just go to Google or DuckDuckGo. NIH studies about dog bites is our search criteria. Look at all these studies. $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 to study stuff like dog bite injuries in the USA. Prevalence correlates in recent blah, 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 blah. Huh. Why are you sucking taxpayer dollars to do a study that is completely freaking obvious? Why don't you bring the parents of these kids that are getting killed by pit bulls up and let them talk? Why don't you let the kids that are getting injured by dogs come up and talk? Billions of taxpayer dollars to do these freaking studies. Here's a study about dog bites. A systemic review of peer-reviewed publications reporting on dog bites. You know, it's great that we have these dog bite studies to look at, right? But nobody shares the information in these dog bite studies. Sure, they'll share a study about looking at a dog for 2.3 seconds increases your dopamine and serotonin levels. Therefore, dogs are better than therapists that go to school for 10 years. Oh, they'll share a study like that with you, though. So yeah, your taxpayer money goes to these studies right here that they don't share with you. You get continually bitten by dogs, and then they can do another study 10 years from now. All those attacks that you're suffering, they'll do another study on it. Yeah. It's like I showed you in this earlier slide. Look at the years that they do these studies. This one is just dog attacks. But you can type anything in this. You can look around in this PubMed. Type in anything. What do we type in? Rottweiler dogs. Okay, so look at this. 535 published studies on Rottweilers. Degenerative neurological diseases in Rottweilers. Prevalence of spondylosis deformis in tail versus Dr. Rottweilers. So they're blowing all your money doing canine hemophagocytic histiocytic sarcoma, a proliferative disorder of blah blah blah. Look at all these studies they're blowing your taxpayer money on for Rottweilers. Yeah, Rottweilers that kill your kids. Texas, recently 3 Rottweilers killed a little black toddler. Yeah, but of course, they're not going to talk to you about that. Spinal arachnoid pseudocyst in 10 Rottweilers. This is what they're blowing your money on. These are the dogs that kill your toddlers, that kill your pet dogs. But hey, keep paying them to do experiments. Experiments that are just looking at stuff we already know. Dogs don't belong inside of human settlements. And we're back at the other site that I was showing you guys. And so this time we have a search result for canine. And there's so many of these studies that cost hundreds and thousands of dollars. Like this one right here. Detection of melanoma by canine olfactory receptors. So they're blowing your taxpayer money to see if a dog can smell something that might be skin cancer. What a slap in the face for the doctors that know how to identify melanoma. With technology, with lenses and all that kind of stuff. They have a microscope, they have electronic imaging. They can tell you if you have a melanoma with a pretty low expenditure. But they're going to spend what? What does it say right here? Look at this. $172,000 of your taxpayer money to study if a dog might be able to sniff some cancer. And then they're going to spend again $206,000 again to do another one of these stupid studies. This one right here. Detection of melanoma. Guys, I can pull up hundreds of examples on here. It just goes on and on. You can go on here and type in whatever you want. Canis familiaris, dog attacks, and this is all the money that they're spending on it. And yes, some of these studies, like let me blue highlight this one. Like this study is not necessarily about dogs, but if you open this study and keyword search it for dog, they're using dog related stuff inside of the study. So it's still valid. Look at this. This is an example of how absolutely stupid and wasteful. Look at this study. Dogs ignore gravity. So they have taken your taxpayer money back in 2018 to do a study with dogs where they throw a ball and it goes down a tube, but the dog doesn't know that the tube put the ball somewhere else. And it's this whole freaking study about, oh my god, the dog denies gravity. The dog doesn't freaking understand gravity. Everybody freaking knows that. If you pretend to throw a ball, like, have you ever pretended to throw a ball and the dog thinks that you threw it? Yeah, it's because they're freaking stupid. They have no prefrontal lobe. But they did this whole study. Dogs ignore gravity. They can't ignore something they don't freaking understand. Like, in the 1960s, your average person could have told you all of the stuff in this study. Uh, Visual information about tubes influenced by the dog's search. They examined how the dog's search shifted when the middle location was blah, 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 blah. A dog is stupid. A dog does not understand these things. But hey, they're going to suck your taxpayer money to do this frickin' study. Yeah. They're studying these dogs with your taxpayer money. They're not giving you the results of the nasty stuff. But of course, if there's a result about the dog human connection, which there is inside of PubMed, Purina, Mars Food Company, oh, they'll share that with you so you can spend more money on dogs. This is like a double punch on people. You guys realize this? There's all these studies like dog bite injuries, dog bites in the United States, systemic review of dog bite prevention strategies. There's all these studies out there available to you, but nobody knows it. Nobody knows it at all. Back to our original slide. Many Americans lack sufficient knowledge. Yet they're sure getting freaking paid. They're sure getting charged for the knowledge. Yeah. You're getting charged for all this knowledge that the NIH is gathering about dogs, but you're sitting back in your home. Every single dog attack that happens. We don't know what happened. We loved him all of his life. We gave him a memory foam bed. We raised him with love. We gave him science diet. Blah, 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 blah. But he still killed the toddler. He still mauled grandma. Yep. So Americans lack sufficient knowledge, but they're getting charged up the ass via taxpayer dollars to do hundreds and thousands of studies that cost $100,000, $300,000 or more. Yeah, dog culture is taxpayer funded. Definitely not a direct capitalist type thing going on here. It's more like what I was talking to you guys about earlier. This is more like communist Nazi Germany, using government funding to conduct various medical experiments, particularly in concentration camps. Well, dogs are concentrated in suburban areas, and that's where many of these dogs attacks. So yeah, concentration camps does generally and indirectly apply. Yep. These experiments often involved unethical practice and were aimed at advancing ideological goals. Yeah, these dog attacks advance ideological goals. The ideological goals are that dogs are better, humans aren't good, and all of those other trite slogans from dog culture. Yep, so there you go. That's how your taxpayer money is totally thrown in the garbage to do dog studies that anybody out there could tell you. Some of those studies even talk about stress at work. There's at least a dozen studies that I found on PubMed that talk about stress at work from dog owners. But the dog owners already know that. But they're taking the dog owners' money and they're giving it to NIH through the Congress of America. And they're doing studies that dog owners already know too. So this isn't just anti-dog. This review that I'm giving you right now, this affects everybody. It affects people that don't like dogs, and it affects dog owners too, because you guys are already having financial struggles, and they're sucking your taxpayer money away to do dog studies that you as a dog owner, you already know that. You already know that it's stressful. Yeah. So I'll see you guys later. Sorry that you adopted this Nazi experiments of dog worship. You got sucked into it. It's time to get out of it and put humans first.